Over to you then, Rick.
Alrighty. So, like I was saying during the start here when we were just talking, I used to be a really avid river guy, and then I moved to the heaven of lakes in the central area of BC. Here, I've got close to 200 lakes within an hour here. But I used to be a pretty hardcore river guy, and with that, I tied a lot of river flies and was quite successful. Was supposed to compete this week in a BC River competition, a British Columbia River Comp finals, but water temperature, water level, and forest fires in the area cut that short, so we stopped that. So we're not doing that. So I thought I'd share a bunch of flies from my comp box, and just gonna change the light here a bit so it's on more onto the fly. I think that'll be better. Okay, so this one is it's the simplest little perdigon that I tie, and it's one that I've done extremely well, especially on whitefish. Um, and it's like I said, very simple to tie. So let me get this bead on. These big hands of mine. This is the part I have the most problems with anytime I do these small river flies. And these aren't even that small, but so um let me I gotta get some CDL out. Okay, so this is a Hens BL 124 barbless big game. I really like these big game hooks because they got a nice wide gape. Um, these are they're tungsten bead. They're marbled white with red and blue and green dots on it, painted on. I can't even remember where I got them from, but they're key to this pattern because I've tied this pattern without them, and they don't produce as well. So I'll just move my camera just up a tiny bit so that's more centered. There we go. So I'm going to start off with some white, whatever type of thread you guys like. GSP, a nice one of these shinier GSPs is what I like. So this is, of course, I didn't thread this one. This is Nano Silk 12-aught. Um, so whatever type of that more shiny GSP style thread, and the reason I say the shiny is because this is the body, and you want a bit of that shiny look to it. So I woke up this morning and had my breakfast, was sitting around looking outside at the beautiful sunshine, and then came to sit down. And I'm like, oh crap, I gotta do a tying demo. So I wasn't even ready. So I've been kind of scrambling for the last hour, and I didn't get my stuff all ready all the way. So sorry if it's going to take a few seconds longer. Okay, so I just start my nano silk behind the bead, and just a little tip for those. Just like this one's kind of tight on there, but if the bead's not tight, I like holding my finger tight up against the bead and then just kind of building up a bit of a thread down, just so it doesn't move. Now this one wouldn't have moved anyway. So I come back to about the point of the hook, give or take, maybe a little bit less. And then I'll come back forward again. And I'm going to grab 3 or 4 of these CDL fibers. This one is barred paro. So I'm just going to take 3 or 4 of them. Going to measure up the length of my body, maybe a tiny bit longer. little long, so I'm just gonna pull that just a bit. And then I like going under it and over it twice at least. That just helps hold that tail up. Cut off my excess here. So I got 6 flies planned. Hopefully we can get through all of them. I'll go in.
We got plenty of time, Rick.
Good. Now let's see how fast we go. I even got a 7th real ugly, 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 ugly fly. But oh man, is it? Do you guys might be a dumb question. Do you guys have bull trout in the UK?
What time is it there then, Rick? What time?
What time is it here? It's 11 a.m.
No.
So, like I asked, do you guys have bull trout over in the UK?
No, not bull trout.
No, that's really too bad because that's probably my favorite species. I absolutely love hunting bulls. They're such um, aggressive feeders. I tie up some. They're not the smartest in the world, so I tie up some pretty ugly flies for them. But um, key with bull trout, I find, is heavy, heavy, heavy. So, sorry, I didn't explain what I'm doing here. So this is 0.2 millimeter ivory wire. Like I said, this thing is an absolute killer for whitefish. I've caught rainbow trout on it. I've caught suckers on it. I've caught, I don't know again if you guys have them, but they're called northern pike minnow, or what we used to call squawfish before it became politically incorrect. So I'm just doing a bit of a taper. So I go back about 3/4 of the way, come back all the way front, flatten my thread, go back about halfway, come back forward, flatten my thread, go about 1/4 of the way, come forward, and then I'm going to counter wrap my white or ivory. And I like getting about 5 turns in, if I can, 4 to 5 turns. Helicopter off my wire, get my whip finisher out. A little whip finish, do a second set. Cut that off. And then there's 3 different versions I tie. That's one done, just like that. This light is really bright. How did it?
Nice simple.
I don't want it to be too.
Well.
Yeah, so that's one pattern. The second, I'll do a pink hotspot. So I'll always have all 3 in my box. I found the white, just straight white like I had, and the pink are the top 2 producing, but every once in a while they want a little bit of movement. So I'll put a little bit of a white CDC collar on instead of the pink, right? Just a little tiny, just a wisp of the white CDC. But that's like I said, it's probably the simplest one I tie. And probably 80%, no, 90% of all my river flies are jig style. So, um, so they ride like this. We have a lot of freestone rivers here. So these things will super heavy tungsten bead. This is a 3.8 mil. I'll go all the way up to a 4.6, really heavy, because I want this thing down bouncing on those rocks. So you lose a lot. So I like tying simple flies for the rivers, just because the way that I fish them, Euro nymph or high stick them, and you do end up losing quite a few, right? So I always like tying them on a jig hook, so the hook is the tip is up, and I like simple flies. So that's Uno. Away quickly. I need that one for the next fly. Put that away. That out. So this next one is probably my favorite overall river fly. Um, I caught so many different species on this. The last trip I just did down on the Similkameen, like I said, when I was practicing for the BC finals, um, this one probably caught 80% of my fish. So I actually just did a video for this that just came out yesterday on my YouTube channel. So again, same hook. Pretty well all the ones I'm going to do for you guys, except for the two, are on the same hook. So again, the Tens BL 124, big game, wide gap. This is a really heavy 4 mil gold bead from Hens. So I do tie it in two different ways, gold bead and a chartreuse bead. And I think the chartreuse this last trip outperformed the gold, but on average over 10 trips, I would say it's about 50-50. So again, just tying on my it's sorry, this is Tech Stream watery olive or light olive. And again, about the same spot, about the point of the hook, definitely before the bend. And again, create a little bit of that thread dam. Same tail, a little bit of the CDL in the barred paro. The other, I will use pheasant on these if I don't have any CDL. And this one I find I wanted slightly shorter tail. I don't want it quite as long as that last one. And again, under and over and under and over. So it is still long, but it is definitely shorter than that last one. I want this about the body length, and the last one about 1.5 body lengths. So then I'm going to get some small or 0.1 mil black wire, if I can find the start. Hate it when they get down to the end. They always end up falling in, or just do that. So like I said, this is either 0.1 or small, depending on the brand. So this one is the UTC small. But if you're using Zemperfly, it would be the 0.1 mil. Again, just lay this right on top. Bring it back right to where you stop tying in that tail. And then just cover your body. Doing about the same as I did last time. So about 3/4 of the way back forward again. This doesn't flatten quite as nice as the Nano Silk does, but I still give it a flatten about halfway back, quarter way back. So to this point, it's not much different, just different colors, right?
Is this the Whitefish Warrior, Rick?
This is the Whitefish Warrior, yes. This thing was like absolutely crazy this last trip. Um, I think in about 40 minutes, I got 11 whitefish, and the biggest was 2.5 pounds. So it produced well. If I would have been able to get to comp, I think I would have done well with this. That river's loaded with whitefish. So now I'm going to take a green CDC. So this is olive from Hens. I don't know if you guys know, but Hens carries these 5 gram packs, which are really hard to find. So I'm just going to take half of this. I don't want the whole thing. So I'm just going to just give it a bit of a spread out. And then I'm going to grab my CDC clamp and just clamp half of this feather. I don't want the whole thing. I find if you take the whole thing, it's too much feather. I'm just going to prep that. Give my thread just a little bit of a rock. My dubbing spinner in there. Give that a spin up. And as you can see, there's not a lot of material there, right? Don't want a lot. And I'm just going to give it a couple of turns. 1, 2 full turns. And that's it. That's all I want. So now if you want to, you can put a little bit of a red hotspot or an orange hotspot. I found with this one, the natural is better. But I do tie them with, especially, I'll come in with just hold on a sec, I'll finish this one up. So this is just some Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. Just put it right on the thread. And give that a whip finish. I found if you want to put a hot spot on, where did I put it? This color here, thread. It's a burgundy or wine. Works really well. If I'm going to put a hot spot on, that's what I'll do. I found that for whatever reason, these bright pinks and bright oranges just don't work that well with this fly. Natural or a little bit of a red collar. That's it. So that's that one. Like I said, another fairly simple fly, a lot like a lot of the others that are out there, just with a little, my little twist. I do tie them with a silver wire as well instead of the black. So I'll have a couple of different types in my box just so I'm prepared. And then, like I said, I'll tie him with a chartreuse head. You can see that one's been in the water. It's bounced on a couple of rocks, and that's got the silver rib, right? So, and dead drifted all the way down. I don't want any any type of drag. I might give it like with the Euro nymph, that slight lead. But I definitely don't want it to be looking unnatural. So dead drift, upstream mend, just get that thing doing what it's supposed to do, right? Looking like a little mayfly that's been lodged, broken loose, right? Gonna quick vacuum. Alrighty. Any questions with those two?
They're all on mute at the
Fairly
moment,
simple.
Rick.
Okay. Which one do I want to do next? Let's go with this one.
If you guys have got any questions for Rick, just unmute, ask the question, then remute again, please.
So again, same hook, no different. Same bead as well in this one. That's the other thing I find about river flies, at least these, let's call them jigs or Perdigon style or whatever. You can use a lot of the same materials with just little twists in it, right? So this is gonna have the same hook and same bead as the last fly. So we got that BL 124 again with the 4 millimeter tungsten jig. Now, if I'm doing comp, I do 3.8 mil, not 4, just because I've noticed it doesn't matter what brand, but yeah, you take a caliper to these, and some of them are 4, some of them are 3.99, some of them are 4.02, and in comp, if it doesn't fit through that hole, you're screwed, as a lot of you guys know. So I go with the 3.8 during comp, just to have that little bit of a safety factor, if you want to call it that.
Still heavy enough for 3.8.
Oh, yeah. I'm fishing that last one that I just showed you. Whitefish likes tailouts of deeper run tailouts is what they really enjoy. At least here, the ones that okay, come on. The rivers that I fish, they enjoy these deeper tailouts. So the ones I was fishing, they were in these tailouts that were about 7 feet deep, and yeah, they had no problem. These had no problem whatsoever bouncing on the bottom, right? Getting down to them. So at all, none. Okay, so we are going to start with some. This is wood duck, the color, but anything in this kind of that light brown, rusty red, tan, anything like that. And then I'm going to take this time instead of CDL, pheasant tail. And I'm just going to take about the same amount, that 3 to 4 strands. So one about there. Tie that on. Cut that off, and then I'm going to get that bead in place. So this is one of those beads that, like I was saying, the first one, it's so loose, right? So I'm going to get it all the way to the front, put my fingers up against it, and then just kind of do a bit of a thread dam in there to hold that bead from going back and forth. So this one here, this fly here, basically it's a little bit of a bastardized or a different version of a hare's ear in a jig. But the one material in here that I don't like using, but I find key, is it's mirror tinsel in antique gold. from Semperfly. I love the stuff. It's key. I find that if I use a different, like a wire or something like that, I don't get as many strikes. That being said, it is so soft and supple, this stuff, that couple, three fish and it's done. It doesn't have the ribs gone, right? So it isn't the strongest material, but I found that it's absolutely key to my success rate. Okay. I didn't need to do that much, but now I'm going to just go back to my tie-in point, wax up my thread a little bit. This is classic waxed, but I find a little bit extra wax helps. And then this is the Hen's Hair Dubbing Plus. This is probably my favorite dubbing in the world so right now, because it's hair dubbing and it's got that just a little bit of sparkle in it, right? So I'm just going to grab the kind of that natural gray there coming out, this one, and just do a nice thin, starting thin, tapered up body. And I'm one of these guys that I'm a proponent for less is more when it comes to putting my dubbing on my thread. So I'll start off with just a little bit, and if I have to stop and add more, I have to stop and add more. I'm fine with that. And like I said, I just want this to taper slightly as I go up. So tighten that as I go. A little bit more on. So with all the hot weather you guys have been having, how's the fishing been? Has it slowed down or?
I haven't actually been fishing myself, but some of the other lads have been.
A little bit more. So this one, because of the dubbing, doesn't sink quite as fast, right? The more material you got, obviously, the more friction, right? So now the key here is don't clip the hook tip with this stuff, the hook point, because it's gone if you do. And I'll do usually about 4 to 5 wraps. Get that in there. Tie that off. Cut that off. And then what I'll do is I'll take that gray again, or that natural hair color, and I'm going to mix it with a little tiny bit of this number 14 brown. So I'm going to take a little bit of this brown out and a little bit of that gray and mix it together and make a little bit of a darker color. So I'm just giving it a blend in my fingers here. It's a little too dark. A little bit more of the gray. So I do it with either this, or if I've got a darker gray, I would have used that. But I know I ran out because I tied so many flies I tied probably 4 dozen of these for my team, and then well, the pop didn't go. So I just do a little bit of a collar right behind there, and I'll just take my dubbing brush before I do my whip finish and just give it a bit of just a real light brush out. There we go. Couple of turn whip finish. A little bit of Sally's again right on the thread, or UV resin or whatever type of cement you like using. I just like the Stallies because it's here as well. Doesn't have a ton of smell, and you can get it anywhere. So there you go. Now you could do CDL back here as well. It's up to you, but just nice and buggy looking. And like I said, I don't know what it is, but this is absolute key. Is this antique gold? You can go with gold wire. It works, just not quite as well as this does. I would say this version over the gold wire version is outfishes the gold wire by a factor of 10. So,
Is there a name for
especially in
that one,
comp.
Rick?
Sorry?
Is there a name for that one?
Yeah, it's a mirror tinsel.
No, the
One
fly,
six.
sorry.
Oh no, I just call it my hare's ear jig, but it's all because that's all it really is. It's a hare's ear jig. So I don't really have a. I'm so bad at naming flies. I yeah, I always have a struggle naming flies because it's just a knockoff of a hare's ear, right? It's just right. It's just a slight couple of slight changes, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's what it is. It's a hare's mask, hare's ear fly with this tinsel. Um, if I would put gold tinsel on it, it'd be plain hare's ear jig, right? So, alrighty, let's clean that one up quickly. Away. That has to stay out. That has to stay out. Alrighty. So this one's totally different. This is nothing like the first three. Completely different fly. Another one I just put up on my YouTube channel, but it won't be live for I don't know a couple weeks. But and it is bigger. This is a much bigger fly in comparison. Um, and at times this thing hold on to your rod because this thing gets smacked hard. But it is again a nymph style, but you'll see it's got a quite a, it's definitely quite different. So this is a 4.6 mil, right? Yeah, 4.6 millimeter tungsten bead and a Hens BL 144 in a size 12, so quite large for a nymph, right? For in the rivers. And sometimes, depending, and I'll mark them by using a little a little colored pen. Sometimes I'll even put on uh, 2 layers of sticky back flat lead on the body to give it even more weight, right? So it it depends but if I did put the sticky back on, then I've got like some different colored pencils and pens, and I just like a bright one, and I just put a dot on, and that way I know that's an extra weighted version, right? Okay, so black doesn't really matter, black or green nano silk. I actually prefer green, but I ran out of all my green nano silk except for like 18 aught, and that's I'd rather not use that for this. So same thing again. I'm just going to build up a bit of a thread down, just a little bit. It doesn't really matter on this one as much. So I'm going to go right back to that bend. Just make sure I got my shank covered, just for grip more than anything. Okay, and then I'm going to take a small piece of the it's another Semperfly material, but I know Hens is coming out with one very similar. I think Fulling Mill has it, a bunch of different companies. But this is the Mobster chenille in fluorescent yellow. I like this one because it's got this speck in it, and it's just an extra attractant. So I'm going to take a little piece, and no, it's not a mop fly. And just going to pull out and expose a little bit of that center core. I don't know if you guys can see that, but expose a little bit of that center core and just tie that in by that center core there. There we go. So now it's in there quite well. Now I'm gonna leave that length for now, just because it's easier to judge the length once I'm done the next step here. So now this is you can use whatever you like, whether it's Brahma hen, whether it's um, Hungarian partridge, grouse feathers. It's depends on what you can get your hands on, but anything that has this kind of look to it, right? This is locally harvested Hungarian partridge, and then I also just harvested a grouse a couple days ago. So, and the harvested grouse was roadkill. I was driving to a lake to go fishing, and there was a freshly killed grouse on the side of the road. I'm like, score! So that went in the back of my truck. So again, just gonna tie this in by the tip. So just prepping it. Gonna lay that right in there on the side. Just tie that all in. And what I'll normally do is just strip off one side, the leading edge, because I don't need that much. And then right up against that chenille, just use it all up. Come on back with my thread. Tie that off. Flip off my little piece of stem. And then I just like taking a brush, just making sure that's brushed out just to separate them. So now I want this chenille just to be a tiny bit longer. And then I'm just going to stroke all that material out of the way. Now this is the only downfall with waiting is this portion, because you can screw things up, but just stroke it all out of the way. And then I hit that with a lighter. Get that little black head. Let that cool a bit. So if you guys haven't, which you probably have, but if you haven't figured it out yet, it's a Peeping Caddis. I could have made that one a little bit shorter, but I'm okay with it. So now I can do whatever I want. I can go with any color I like. There's like 20 different colors of this material, and it's the Dirty Bug yarn from Semperfli. I really like the Racophilia, and I like this high contrast olive, it's called. But the Racophilia is my favorite. But again, I don't think I have any left. I think I used it all up for the comp, getting these ready for my team, right? So, and depending how big of one you use, this stuff can be taken apart, right? So you can use, if you're tying a size 14 or 16, you can take this apart, right? And use only one strand. For this one, I want two full strands, like the whole thing. Tie that in. Nope, I did forget one step. Sorry. Got to get a piece of 0.2 mil or medium gold wire. So this is 0.3 actually. Oh yeah, right. I do 0.3 with this size. I do 0.2 with the smaller. I forgot that's why I took it out because of the size of this hook. And this adds a little tiny bit of weight too, right? Not a lot, but so I should have obviously should have tied that in first, but so now I just wrap my dirty bug yarn forward. Back a little bit, come forward again. Tie that off. And a clip, counter wrap my gold wire. And this gold wire can be silver, it can be black, it can be green. I haven't noticed a difference in what color wire I've used with the success rate. I just know I use it to counter wrap that bug yarn so it doesn't come apart more than anything, right? Just give that a helicopter. Take my dubbing brush and just give that a bit of a rough up. A dirty bug yarn, get it to be a little bit buggier. And to be honest, like I tie them in several different colors, but the Rackaphilia green is the one I like the best. I find that one, at least for my area, is the right color for my area, right? So, the next one I do like this brown as well. This, really call it molten dark green is what they call it, but I don't see green in that, but, yeah, I like it in this one as well. But the Rackaphilia, like I said, I don't know where it ended up or if I used it all, but that's definitely my favorite. Let's see if I got one. I got one here. Yeah, it's a little bit different. See, just got a little bit more of that it's got a little bit of black in it and green and reds and or yellow. So it's a little bit more like it was picking up little pieces of stick and stuff, right? It looks a little bit more natural than this one does. But yeah, so that's the Peeping Caddis, and so is that one there, right? That one's been used. You can tell it's been ripped off at the top already, or bounced on the bottom, right? So, but yeah, that's and like I said, it's definitely a bigger fly, right? This is not a dainty little thing, but um, again, I'm not sure about your guys' area, but we have some pretty damn big caddis here, right? So, and this size, so just so you can see, I said that I could have made it a little smaller. You see the green, the peeping part? That's more like I like it. This is a little long, right? I like it to be kind of inside those legs. So, alrighty, clean that mess up.
Anybody got any questions so far? No, they're
Yeah,
all.
it's pretty simple patterns. Again, like I said, I like tying fairly simple patterns for rivers, just because I find, Euro nymphing and high sticking, check nymphing, whatever you want to call it. You're skirting that bottom, right? You're bouncing that bottom. And I find I lose a lot of flies. So I want to make sure that I simplify my tying for it because I mean, if I tie, a fancy fly that takes me 45 minutes or half an hour to tie, uh, I'll lose them faster than that when I'm fishing. So, okay, so tiny bit smaller now than any of the ones we've done. Now we're going to go down to a size 16, hence BL 144 and a size 16. I do tie these 16 to 18, 14 to 18, sorry. I just got to get this darn bead bag open. Okay. And this one's got a really hot spot bead instead of, hopefully this one will fit because these are 3.3 mil beads. Normally I'd use a 3.5 here, but I couldn't find any in the color I wanted, so in my bag. I just placed my order from Hens a few days ago, but Canada to Czechoslovakia is a long way. So normally, like I said, I would use a 3.5. This is 3.3, but again, pretty darn close. So, and I want this nice bright orange. Okay. So, black nano silk, 12-aught, 18-aught. Doesn't matter as much on the thickness here because we're going to be using other stuff for the body. So just want to make sure that bead is where it's supposed to be. And then I'm going to grab some more of that CDL fibers. The other thing you can use if you have it is Semperfli makes I think they're called Fibbits, or you can use paintbrush, right? Just the paintbrush bristles for these tails. So under that tail. That off. And then, again, if I could find the beginning, but of course I won't be able to, so I'll just use that. So this is 0.2 millimeter red wire. You could go with 0.1 as well, but I do want a bit of this red to show through. So I like going with just slightly bigger wire. It does make the fly a tiny bit bulkier, but I'm okay with that. All right. So next, probably one of my favorite materials for river flies, but also one of the most brittle materials for any fly, and that's peacock herl. I love the natural look of peacock herl. So this is one from Uphaven, but um, I love the natural look of it. But as we all know, this stuff is not the strongest stuff in the world. So that's 3 strands of peacock herl. And there's a reason I do this 3 is because often I'll break one and I'll be left over with at least 2. So, but if 3 stay, then 3 stay. And I just make sure I keep them fairly thin, sparse. So touching wraps, not overlapping. And then at the front, I'll give it an extra turn. Look at that, I didn't break one. Woohoo! Put that on the calendar. Put that off, counter wrap my red. Like I said, I definitely want my red showing through here with this fly. So I tie that off. Helicopter. Make sure that tail's not, there we go. And now there's two different things you can do. You can either use some CDL, right? CDC, sorry, as a collar. Or what I like doing is I like taking just some of this black Hares Plus dubbing from Hens again. And just put a little bit of a black collar. Right there. Then again, just in case I pull too much out, before I whip finish, just give this a little pull out. And then if I find that I've pulled too much out or whatever, I can always add more, right? And I'm not brushing very hard. Again, a little bit of Sally's. Whip finish. I'll do one more set of couple just on top of that to make sure. And this one I found, well, not only I found it, I mean, I keep track of my numbers, especially when I'm practicing for any kind of event, on what's working, and I'll take pictures of the fish with each fly and so on. And this one by far has caught my majority of my rainbows. My whitefish seem to like anytime I'm in a river that's got whitefish in it, they seem to like the whites, the tans, and the greens, and the rainbows like the greens and the blacks. And for me, this one has been outfished. Outfished this one probably 5-1 for rainbows, right? But this one outfishes this one probably 10-1 for whitefish. So this has been probably one of my top producers in the last few years for rainbow trout. Oh, and that dubbing. This dubbing is so it's so soft and supple. It really breathes when it slicks back, right? So it pulsates and breathes a lot. That's why I like using it. But CDC will do the same thing. It'll get that breathing. But in this one, I found that those longer CDC fibers that will end up coming back to here. I like them. I like these shorter collar fibers with the hair dubbing, right? So,
Rick, what's it called,
yes.
please? What's the name of it?
Again, I have a I have a bad name naming stuff, so I didn't even name this one. I don't know. I don't know what to call it.
Orange bead,
Orange
orange
bead.
bead, peacock body jig.
Orange
Yeah, there you go.
bead. Yeah, thank you very much. Well,
Yeah, something like I have a hard time naming flies because I mean I think I've said this with you guys before. I think anybody that says they've invented a new fly is just being but arrogant. Yeah, we don't invent new flies. We just change other flies, right? There's no, but again, it's these little subtleties I find. It's the adding, making sure that you've got the red rib in this one, making sure that you've got this antique gold for that hare's ear. It's those little subtleties that I find that help especially if you're in an area, in my opinion, if you're in an area that's got heavy pressure, and you've got, 5, 6, 7 guys fishing the same stretch of water every single day of the year. I mean, fish will get pretty smart pretty quick that, hey, I've seen that hare's ear before. Change it up, make it tiny, that little change, right? So, and that's why a lot of my flies are based on other flies. It's just with those little subtle changes. And I'll tie, like I probably tied this version here with silver bead, gold bead, red bead. Like this one here actually has got a silver bead rib. This one's got a silver rib, right? So I change them up, and I'll make sure I've got different versions of the same fly, especially when I'm, let's say, inventing or coming up with a new one, that works for me. I'll have multiple colors. I also make this one with a black bead, with a chartreuse bead, and with a gold bead. And it's just over time, I found, if I go back, take a look at my pictures that I've taken with the fish and my count and stuff, that this has been my most successful, right? So this is the one I more lean to, right? So
We call them Mickey Uppies back here in Ireland.
what was that? Sorry.
We call them Mickey Uppies, your own flies.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's what they are.
No, we call them Mickey Uppies.
Yeah, that's a makey uppy number one. There you go.
We always say the books are only a guideline of a pattern, but you can veer off and do your own fly according to that fly, like what you do.
100%. And as long as, see, and this is where I know a lot of people, especially, I don't know what it's like in the UK, but here in North America, people get their panties all in a bunch that, oh, you didn't give, John Peterson credit because, that's his fly. I've never seen John Peterson's goddamn fly. He's from Philadelphia. I'm 7,000 miles away from him, right? It's just, in time, we all come up with the same stuff, right? Just with different materials or whatever. And I think that's the biggest thing to understand is that a lot of times the stuff we're making up might be the same, but it's got that slight twist. Like instead of a hare's ear with the gold tinsel or the flat braid or the gold wire, I found that this works better for me, right? It's a subtle change, but all right. Let's do another little one here. So this one is going to go back onto first the first hook that we were using, which is the 14, 144 in a size 14. 124, sorry. And a 14, the big game. And a 4 mil gold again. I find gold, black, silver are the three colors I use the most in the rivers, with some orange and some chartreuse. But so, okay, what am I doing here? I am doing so. Gonna start off with this Danville's. This is a red burgundy. I think they call it here. It was a really sought after color here for chironomids, for bloodworms. It's called wine. Here in BC, if you can find the UTC wine, oh, these guys they'll go nuts and they'll pay you $15 a spool because you can't find it anymore. The original. The new UTC wine is not the same, but that's not what we're tying. So again, same thing, same little start. Just get to there. The twist here is going to be a little red tag, so I'm using some floss. This is from Vivus, but whatever floss you've got, and I'll just double that over and then double it over again. So I got 4 strands. Same thing again, under my tail. And then just past the bend of the hook, slightly longer than the bend. Just cut that off. So just a little red tag. Sometimes I like taking my dubbing brush and just roughing it up a bit, but really doesn't matter that much because once it gets wet, it all kind of clumps together anyway. So now got that red wire again. Where did my that little piece go that was left over? Just cutting a new piece. Piece of that red wire. Now this is another one of those flies that I really like tying multiple versions of, multiple colors, underbody colors. Um, but right now I'll tell you the one that I find has worked probably the best for me overall. And that is with this color here. It's kind of a rusty brown, kind of a wood duck. Now I tie this again, this is that Hare's Ear Plus. I'll tie it in natural. I'll tie it in this color. I'll tie it in the darker brown, which is right next to it there. I'll tie it in the natural gray. I'll tie it in the green, the olive, in several different colors. Again, just to be ready because you just never know what they're wanting. A little bit more. Right up. Counter wrap. Tie that off. Get that a helicopter. Then back to my partridge, Brahma, grouse. Again, anything that's got this kind of this speckled look. Too big. Will do. Just again, prep your feather, peel away your under fluff. Grab your hackle plier. Grab that point. Rip it for your tie-in. Again, I don't want that much, so I peel that leading edge off. If you want it to be a little heavier dress, leave that on. So again, it's one of those, what do the fish want today? Just make sure that material is kind of going backwards. And then I'm just going to build up a little bit of this winey red hot spot right behind the head. Sally Hansen's. I'm being really careful with my Sally Hansen's because the last time I did a tying demo for you guys, I spilt it all over my desk.
You managed to clean it all up.
Yeah, I use these this matting material. Just hold on, let's see if I can find it. Yeah. I buy it by the I think it's 20 feet and it's like 18 inches wide. So it's just a roll, right,
Oh yeah.
of this matting material. It's like almost like a shelf liner. So I just every 3 months or whatever, once it gets all dirty and stuff, I just throw it away and I just redo my desk with this. And it's nice because it's got that white background as well, so you can see what you're tying, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's it. So it's just a little wet fly, but again, it'll ride like that. Little red tag wet fly. This is probably, like I said, the color combination with this wood duck color is probably my favorite. Followed by the straight normal natural hare's ear color, and then the olive, right? This one here. So you can tell which ones are my favorite. The three that are empty or emptier. I think this is like the fourth one of these that I've gone through in the last
Rick,
couple of years. So
Rick, with different colors, would you use the same red tail or would you use a different color tail?
I use several different colored tags. So uh, I use the red tag often just because I really like that red. But I'll also use. Where are we here? Do I not have it out? Oh, I don't have it out. I must put it away. Um, I use I use a chartreuse tail, and I use
Okay,
a orange tail as well.
okay,
So
thank
I
you.
can't remember the Globe Right number 6, I think it's called, or number 9.
Yeah,
I don't have them out here. Oh yeah, the Globe Right number 5 and the Globe Right number 2, the
thank
pink
you.
and the so yeah, these two are other ones that I'll use.
Yeah,
As well as just straight fluorescent green like chartreuse, right?
yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks.
So, but I would say probably my favorite is the red. Um, but there's times, well, we all know there's times where you just need that extra hot spot, right? That extra pop, and that's why on this I put the red tag for a hot spot, and I use a little bit of red in the front for a hot spot. I kind of match it. Um, I don't think. No, I don't. I was going to say I don't put if I put an orange tail, I'll put an orange thread. But if I do chartreuse, I won't do a chartreuse head. I'll put red behind it as a hot spot here, right? I don't want chartreuse. When the hot spots are, for me at least, when the hot spots are subtle, I don't mind having a front and back. But if they're bright like chartreuse, I don't want a front and back hotspot because then you're confusing the fish. Which end do I go after? Right. So that's why if I do chartreuse tail, I'll still stick with this um, wine colored hotspot in the front. I don't know how well you guys are seeing the colors on there because for me it seems all bright, um, but yeah, so this one obviously will flick back and pulsate and move and I could have probably this package of mine that I harvested is not the greatest. I probably could have had feathers that would have ended at the start of the tail, but I don't mind this either, right? So, but if I had my preference, that's what I would do. I would have a shorter a hackle that would end about here, not here. So, but got to do with what I got to do, what I have, right? So, okay. So that's all I've got prepared. But like I said, I can tell you guys a really ugly, ugly stonefly that I tie for bull trout because I've been tying it. So I should have the materials close here. Uh, if you got time and if you want it.
Yeah, we got time.
Okay, just give me a couple of minutes because it's going to take me a little bit of time just to get all the materials back together, but just need the curved shrimp, Damaris, traditional shrimp, size 4, size 8. So this is a large, like a large pattern, very large. I might actually have to zoom out a bit. It is a stonefly pattern that I use for bull trout. Um, like I said, I've been out. I'm going on a trip with a bunch of high school buddies that we still every year we go on a river trip and on a lake trip, and we're doing that in a few weeks here on one of our favorite little rivers. So I'm prepping. So this is a size 6 Arex NS156 traditional shrimp hook with a tungsten 4.6 black bead. So I actually, if I had 5, I'd use 5 mil. And then there's the hook. So large, fairly large here. And it's all just for weight. Oh, hold on. Change out my vise because that doesn't hold those big hooks very well. So let's just see. I might have to move my camera. Yeah, I'll have to zoom out a bit. It's kind of what I figured. Move that over a bit. Oh, wrong way. There. So, okay. So if I had a larger bead, it would be even better, but I don't at the moment. So sticky back flat lead. I'm gonna cut about a 1/4 inch wide strip. Off of it. Peel off the sticky. And then about the point of the hook, I'll start with my skinny end, my point, and now I'm going to wrap this forward, and I want about a 3/4 overlap. Every turn overlaps the last one by about 3/4. And at the end here, it gets kind of ugly, but it won't matter. It'll be all covered. Like I said, this is not a pretty fly at all. But whoo, man, do they love this fly. I usually use streamer patterns, all white streamer patterns with bull trout. But when they're not after streamers, this is my next fly. So black nano silk. Just start right at the back end here. And I want this as heavy as I possibly can. Like I said, if I had a 5 mil, I would have put it on, or even a 6 mil tungsten, I would have put it on. And now I'm going to come through here, and you can see that this lead is kind of bulged out there in the front, and that's because as it overlaps, it doesn't sit right. So now I'm just going to go in there and just kind of squish that down in here in the front. Now the other thing I do sometimes is I'll put in, like Hens makes a flat lead in pieces, and I'll put that in at the front here. But so you see how that kind of tightened that up now? Left a bit of a gap. That's totally fine. So now I'll go back to about there. And I'm going to grab Some silly legs. This is a red speck. It's black with red speck in it. So I'll tie this one up in three different colors. I'll tie it up in black, I'll tie it up in olive, and I'll tie it up in kind of that wood duck color. So I'm just going to take about half of one length. I'm just going to kind of lay it on my side. Just get that tied in. Want it right along that side. And then I'm going to flip this one over to the other, to your side, stretching it a bit. So there's your little legs out the back, or your tail. Going to cut that quite a bit shorter out there. Match this one up to it out there. And then see if I can find it. Like I said, I put some of my stuff away already, so for this one, but I will find it. Normally, oh, there it is. I say normally I use body glass, but thought I put it away. But so this is Hen's body glass. I do prefer for this pattern the bigger body glass, but I ran out of it quite a while ago and haven't been able to grab more. But either so the half round or I think the one I really like is the vinyl D rib. So this stuff here, but in medium and in black, right? But again, being being semi-retired has its drawbacks. You can't afford to buy everything. So piece of that D rib or the body glass. And I'll just come in and just tie that in there. And this does stretch a bit, so just give it a bit of a stretch. And then I'll put that out of my way. Just gonna build that up a bit, just so get rid of that bulk, that bulge in the back a bit. Even though you're not gonna see it because it's all covered. One last material I gotta find. So now it depends if I want this more natural or if I want this more of an attractor. In this case, I'm going to make it more of an attractor. So I take this is Arizona Semi Seal from the Montana Fly Company. So, and it's a black and red, right? So it kind of matches the color of the legs. So just not the easiest stuff to dub on. It doesn't dub as nice as that hair dubbing. That hair dubbing just is amazing how well that dubs. Just come back and then just build up that kind of that tapered stonefly body. Now that obviously that underbody lead is going to help that already because it's got that taper. Like I said, guys, ugly fly, very ugly fly, and huge. But for these big predatory bull trout, our bull trout here, they can, depending which river you go to, they can reach well in excess of 20 pounds. And they're voracious eaters. They'll, their main reason I tie a lot of white for them is because they chase whitefish and rainbow trout. And they're because they're predators, they sit on the bottom and they look, their eyes are actually a little bit on top of more on top of their head than rainbows are, because they're always looking up. And what do they see when they look up? Well, the white underbelly of whitefish and rainbows. So the streamers I tie are always white, but sometimes they're just not on the rainbows. Or on the whitefish. They just don't want the streamers. And when they don't, I find that these massive stoneflies are what they like. So I'm just tying in a set of legs, kind of the same way I did the back. Yeah, kind of right in the middle there. Cut my length. I kind of guesstimate. Usually go a little bit long. And then I know that back one that first one I cut was a little longer than I wanted, but now I can just take the two and cut them off. And the nice thing is you can manipulate this stuff quite nicely. But now I'm going to take a tiny bit more of that red and black dubbing. Just kind of go behind and get these kind of sitting out a bit more, just a little bit. Then add a little bit more, continuing forward with my dubbing. Now, there's another version of this fly that I actually prefer, and it's with, I was saying, with that D rib. And what I'll do is I'll do a dubbing loop at the back along with my like I wouldn't have this here. I would just have a dubbing loop sitting there. And what I would do then is just leave that dubbing loop, do exactly like I'm doing now, but not adding dubbing. My body would be made of that black D rib. And then as I get to the closer to the front here, then I would bring, when I'm done doing the body, then I bring that dubbing loop forward with this in it and go in between those, that D rib body. And it just gives that little bit of a hairy look. But what it does, because that D rib is slick, it helps it sink faster. This, because it's all dubbing, it won't sink quite as nicely. So another set of legs. Now there is two different ways of tying this up. This is the way I normally do it. Again, I'm going slow for you guys, but it's a lot faster than the other version. The other version, you put in the legs beforehand, and you put the legs out the front under the bead, and so on. It's a lot nicer looking. But believe me, bull trout are stupid. Can't tell the difference. Bull trout are almost as dumb as pike. So again, just kind of go in behind just to get those legs sticking out a bit better. Finish off your front section here. Some more dubbing.
There's going to be a hell of a lot of movement in that fly.
Tons of movement. And again, I'm going to roughly cut the same length of the legs on each side. This does not have to be perfect. And if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of having it the front legs slightly longer than the last set. So now I'm just going to use this D-rib as a ribbing. I always, where is it? Because often I'll trap these little buggers. Legs out of the way. This just gives, it's two reasons. It'll give a little bit of the segmentation to the fly, and it'll also help hold that dubbing together a bit better, right? So, like I said, it's not pretty by any means, but so now I'm going to take one last set of legs. And this is, like I said, often people will put these in the front, like under the bead, because these face forward, right? And often people will put them under the bead. I'm gonna just bring that around. Come on. And I'll cut these to my length that I want. And then a little tiny bit more of that dubbing to help force them forward. And often I'll just kind of grab them for the first turn or two, just so they get forced forward. Now just go and do a whip finish in front. I usually do a hand whip finish on these just because I can hold those legs out of the way easier. And there she is. Like I said, not pretty, but who do they work? So lots of movement in those legs, lots of color, lots of flash, get their attention. Oh, where did I put it here? So here's this is my bull trout box that I just tied for going after bulls, right? So big, big white streamers, and then these big ugly stone flies, and then big heavy mops. I mean, these are quite large mop flies, and 5 mil tungsten bead and a layer of lead underneath them as well, right? So, but yeah, that's again bull trout. A lot of these too are these articulated style streamers, so it's got a trailing hook, right? Trailing hook hanging off of a 20-pound fire line. Here, I'll take this up, take this whole thing out of there so you guys can see. So yeah, so lots of movement in these 20-pound fire line holding a trailing hook, right? And then some schlappen and a little bit of rhea and some marabou and then some ice dub at the front and just a ton of movement in these. Oops. Right? And not too heavy when they get tucked either. These, on the other hand, these are probably my favorite for bull trout, but oh my God, do they get heavy because it's all rabbit, right? And they hold the water, right? But they are probably my favorite fly for bull trout. And again, this will ride upside down just so it doesn't get hooked up on the bottom. Yeah. So that's all I got for you guys today.
Cheers, Rick.
Lovely. Thanks, Rick. Thanks.
You guys are welcome anytime. Like I said, hopefully some of these patterns will work on your guys' rivers, but can't see why they wouldn't. But